Hey guys, welcome back. It is week 2 in the month of patience, also known as June, and I am not feeling very patient at this exact moment. So this is going to be an interesting conversation. Typically these are all note to self as opposed to trying to teach you something. So there are a couple of different types of patience that we're going to talk about this week. One is the struggle, patience in the struggle, and then the other type is patience in a situation that just is what it is. And so I was getting ready to record this video and my husband walked in the door unexpectedly from work because we're going to go somewhere in a little bit. And so his agenda is to eat really fast and he's still answering customer service calls. And so he's making a lot of noise. My agenda is to film this video. We are in each other's way. And so I am very patiently waiting for him to get his food. And of course he takes his time and starts singing, and maybe I need to add some avocado, and oh, this is a nice creation, and I'm like, I just need to film this video before we leave. Okay, that's one kind of patience, right? It just is what it is, and so we have to, it wasn't either one of our faults, and so we just have to be patient with each other and make the best of it, right? We're going to talk about a different kind of patience right now, this week. We're going to talk about patience in the struggle. Because in the struggle is where we develop our character. It's that opposite situation again that keeps coming up that we've been talking about since January, that a character trait is not valid unless it's in an opposite situation. And so what are we talking about when we're saying, how do we develop that patience when we are in a struggle? So from last week, we had this definition that I put back up here again, that it's active waiting. Patience is not passive. It's not something that we do, we just stand there and wait and nothing's happening. This is an active waiting process, and this is what grows our character. And so the struggle that I'm talking about is an entered into agreement for the purpose of growth, and it's something that we are asking for, something that we are after to change. Now we can purposely have this awareness and say, I want to be more patient. I want to have a better year. Typically at New Year's, I want to have a better life, better relationships, be a better person, have better finances, a better job. And so, how do we do that? Well, we develop our character, and there's this concept that so many of us miss that is a key component to having that better life that we're looking for. So in this struggle, I broke this down into 3 categories, and it's relationships with each other that we have, and then ourself, and then with God. And so in those 3 categories, typically what we are talking about when we talk about we need to have patience, we're typically talking about behavior. So it's our behavior, and it's also other people's behavior. It's your behavior, your coworkers, your friends, your neighbors, your spouse, your kids, whatever. Somebody's behaving in a way that is disruptive, and so we need to, take a look at that struggle and figure out what it is that we are doing that we could do better. So when it comes to other people, so let's take a really small example, and I think this will illuminate the whole thing with this tiny concept. So let's say that we want to stop gossiping, that it's not a good character to gossip, or maybe we want to stop being negative or judgmental. Maybe we want to maybe we're on a diet and we want to lose weight, and so we want to stop going to that certain restaurant with our friends, or maybe not drinking so much. Whatever it is, we have this thing that we want, right? And there's usually people who participate in that thing with us. It's typically not, we do have things that we do, on our own, but a lot of times we do it with other people. And so we set a boundary and we say, look, we're not going to participate in this anymore. I'm not going to gossip anymore. I don't want to go out to eat so much anymore. It's costing me money. I'm gaining a lot of weight. I don't want to drink so much, whatever. So we set a boundary against other people. And what happens is that they don't like it. Nobody that has a boundary set against them likes it, because once you say, I'm not going to participate in that anymore, now they have to decide how they're going to handle that situation going forward without you. And they don't like that. That's not something that we want to do. So it causes friction. It causes this struggle. And so every time they come towards you and say, hey, you want to go out to eat, or you want to go to Vegas, or you want to, whatever it is, we have to say no, and we have to practice saying no over and over and over to that person, because they're not going to change right away. It's going to take time. I have to be the same person over and over and over. No, thank you, I don't want to do that, and just keep pushing it back onto their plate. Now, the flip side of that is that behavior with ourselves, same thing. We have the boundary, right? We tell the person that we're going to set the behavior, we're not going to participate in gossip anymore. But what happens, not only do they not like have a boundary set against them, I don't want to be the one to have to keep the boundary. It makes me angry, right? And so the first time that I set a boundary against someone, my typical reaction when they don't keep it, and they never do in the beginning, is, I just asked this person to stop talking about that around me. I just said I don't want to participate in gossip. I don't want to hear all this negative crap about people. I don't want to go to that, out to eat. I don't want to do this. Why is this person disrespecting me? Why aren't they listening to me? I just said I don't want to do it anymore. Now they're coming at me again, right? This is a little bit codependent, but it's also, we also have to practice setting that boundary. And so every time we practice, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to go there. No, I'm sorry, I don't want to go to that restaurant. No, I'm sorry, I don't. Every time we say no, every time someone gossips around us and we just walk the other way, we get stronger and stronger and stronger. But our initial reaction is to be angry that we don't want to be the one to change. We're expecting them to be the one to change. Like, stop gossiping so that I don't have to be the bad guy and say, you're gossiping. We want other people to do it for us. And a lot of times that's what we're asking God. We say, okay, God, give me patience. And then he will say, okay, here's a really long line to practice. He doesn't just zap us with the character trait. He says, let me put you in a really long line and you can practice. And we have to keep being in the long line over and over and over again. Because here's the rub, is that we cannot have patience in this process, because this is growth right here. When we set a healthy boundary and we need that person to practice not doing that anymore, and we have to practice saying no, that takes practice and a lot of patience to allow that process to play out. And here's why. Because I cannot be patient or call myself a patient person unless I am in a struggle. I can't say, if I never had another line in my life, I can't say, ooh, I'm a patient person. No, that would be false. The reality is I just haven't had the opportunity to stand in a really long line. I haven't done that lately. And so it may be, you may ask somebody of something, you may set a boundary and you may say, okay, I think they get it, and I'm so happy that they're not getting it, and then they're doing it. And then 3 months later it comes up again and you're like, what the heck? Well, because we haven't been standing in that line for 3 months. It's not that all of a sudden we're patient. It's that we haven't put ourselves into a struggle. And so the only way to do that is to put ourselves in a really long line and practice over and over and over and over, and have the patience to go through that process before we can say that we have this mastered and that we are patient. And that's where this verse comes in. Count it all joy when you fall into the various trials, because that's what it's talking about, this struggle. Because when we have the opportunity to be in the struggle, now we have the opportunity to practice, and we have the opportunity to pick up the weight, right? So God says, okay, I'll put you have to go to the gym. I'm going to send you to the emotional gym, just like the physical gym, right? You got to go in there. You can use my card. I'll pay your membership, but you have to lift the weight. So we have to do this emotionally. So every time somebody gossips, every time somebody wants us to go out to eat, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to participate in that. This weight is the person coming up to you and gossiping, and you picking up and saying, nope, I'm not going to participate. The sucky part is that the first time we do it, we're going to say, woo, look at all these muscles, right? No, because look, if I'm not lifting the weight, there's nothing there. It takes 6 or 8 weeks for this to be seen by itself without me picking up the weight. And it's the same thing with the emotional weight. We don't see it right away. We have to practice and be patient through that practice all the way to fruition. Let me know what you think in the comments. I will see you guys next week. I will talk to you in week 3. Take care.